Hey, Donald, you want to go to a theme park this summer?
Not really, David. After the last few times we've been to a theme park together, I'd rather not make you have to deal with my nausea.
Oh, no, don't answer it like that. Please, not like that. I still can't repress those memories.
Right.
No, this is for an ad, Donald.
Oh, an ad? Oh, okay. Yes, I'd love to go to a theme park this summer. Wow!
Good to hear. Your excitement sounds truly genuine.
Yeah!
We at the Ritwit are proud to announce our newest division here at Ritwit HQ, Thrill Seekers Are Us. And with the opening of this division comes the opening of our very first Ritwit theme park.
Whoa. Look at all these wonderful rides and shops.
Indeed, we have all the writing-themed rides one could ask for. First off is the plot twist, guaranteed to empty the stomachs of its riders just as a good plot twist empties the bowels of its readers.
Whoa, my stomach! My bowels!
Aha, so much fun, isn't it?
So much fun!
There's also the rising and falling action.
Whoa!
And the bumper plot lines.
I'm the distant side quest.
I'm the main action. We've collided!
Side quest and main action.
It's like Seinfeld. The plot lines always collide! After you're done writing your heart out on all our dizzying and death-defying dilly-dundrums, or engorged at our excellent eateries, our writers/guests are encouraged to visit the Ritwit Workshop of Wonders, managed by Kristalina the Calamitous.
I gaze upon the adventure that is the beyond time. For you, Mr. Donald, I see 4 novels resting comfortably in the bargain bin at local pharmacies.
Ah, man. Well, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised.
And for you, Mr. David, I first see your expository advertisement about the whereabouts of my workplace.
You're correct, Miss Kristalina. Here at the Rit Workshop of Wonders, visitors can have Miss Calamitous tell them their future, serve them refreshments, and have them take literal shots at their unreasonably negative critics.
The epic scale of your book was perfect for leveling out my tables. Your book sucks, and your mom is fat.
Pew, pew, pew. Die, die. Pew, pew, pew.
Well done, Donald. Your mother is far too enchanting for such repugnant rubbish.
And if you're feeling particularly brave, watch the great Kristalina use the arcane magic within her psyche to guess your secret, favorite type of writing.
Oh, great word wizard, David. Your guilty pleasure writing involves Power Ranger fanfics.
That's no secret, but...
Crossed over with My Little Pony and 50 Shades of Grey? Even my gift of foresight has no insight on how that could work.
Really, David, is that true?
I can't... I'm not, maybe you see...
To me!
Ah, yes. The delicately zesty Donald himself. You secretly like to write poems about how lonely you are, but you always have Matt David in case you get particularly desperate.
Wait, what?
I didn't mean it like that. You're just my best friend, and I don't know if I'll ever,
End the ad! End the ad!
Visit the rambunctious and rowdy Ritwit theme park, part of Thrill Seekers R Us. As satisfying as if your written work was turned into a cinema spectacular, while getting 1 thumbs up across the board. Wah!
This ad is brought to you by Thrill Seekers R Us, where if something ain't running in your pants, we are doing our job!
Good ad. Another job well done.
Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of The Ritwit. We're also the show where us two twits have decided to expand our profile, even though it causes physical discomfort?
Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it certainly caused me. My bowels are still recovering. Ugh. Ugh. Well, I mean, on that note, it's the show how life is meaningless, death is inevitable, everything creative is a ripoff, but who cares? Fart jokes! Oh, my bowels! Oh.
For the record, I actually have no experience with My Little Pony or 50 Shades of Grey, so that'd be really hard. I just felt like I needed to qualify that somehow.
Well, of course. Well, I mean, it's none of our business what you watch or read or don't watch or read, except for now, because we rip off from this month. Yeah!
Wow, segues that are actually kind of natural. How about it? All right, anyway, so I've been rewatching a childhood favorite. It's the dubbed version of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, and of course Yu-Gi-Oh! Is based around a trading card game. So, one thing that I noticed...
I used to think...
Go ahead.
I used to think it was just pronounced Yu-Gi-Oh! Like it was said like that.
Well, the guy's name is Yugi, so...
I know it's Yu-Gi, but I thought you said it with each one like it had a exclamation mark at the end, like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, actually,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
to be fair, after being in Japan a little longer, obviously it came from this country, but the kanji all have meanings. So, like, the first kanji means play, the second kanji means tools, and the third kanji means king. So, literally, if you wanted to look at it that way, king of games, which they do call him.
Nice.
But anyway,
that's cool.
In the anime version, they do a lot more of this, where the card game kind of like solves every single conflict ever for some less explicable reason or some more explicable reasons. But I want to write some kind of story where there's like an all-encompassing game. I mean, maybe I shouldn't make it so complex to spare me the detail work and thinking about how many Deus Ex Machina's cards come out of the deck. But, like, you know, it naturally allows for resolution of conflict, too.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I don't know, like, did the game came first, right? And then the anime had to be written around it?
No, actually, it started as a manga.
Oh, okay, and the manga was about this game.
And the manga introduced this game, Duel Monsters, which is done with cards. Actually, by the way, the original manga doesn't isolate just the card game portion.
Oh, okay. So basically,
there are actually other games, and so this is where the character was named from. He basically masters pretty much every game quickly. Like in the anime, you see a little bit of this as they go outside of the Duel Monsters main game to showcase a couple others, and Yugi manages to win duels or contests in these games basically on the first try. And you might say it's beginner's luck, but he's also a very quick study, so that has a lot to do with it too.
I think I remember watching, I think it was this show, it was either this or Digimon. No, it was definitely this one. Okay, so
another one I like from my childhood.
At your house one point when I spent the night, you had this on the TV because it was like this part of Jetix or something like that. Whatever, went back when that was a thing.
Well, Jetix, that might have been Digimon, but anyway, go ahead.
But like, it was something that was like, there was this big ultimate card at the end that like defeated the bad guy like a Deus Ex Machina, and then I remember one of the other characters was like, I'd give anything for that card. This one was like, sorry, it's only used for plot important reasons. I mean, he didn't say it like that, but but basically I thought that's kind of conspicuous. Clearly this is meant as like yeah. I was like,
no, I get you, and yes, there are I looked it up, and there was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 500, 600 cards that are anime exclusive.
Oh, okay.
So literally, they do not show up in the game. They only show up in the anime. And if you look at how in the world did they pull this out of their you-know-what duels, it makes sense.
Right. But anyways, what I was going to say, though, earlier was, so it seems like that the manga came first, and the card game was based off of the manga, and then the anime was based off of the card game. Therefore, the anime was the one that kind of introduced the card game as part of the lore of the manga's world. Is that right?
I'm not 100% sure on the complete order, but what I can say is that there was originally a short anime that was not just about the card game.
Right.
The one we got in the States was actually an adaptation of the second anime, which did focus on the card game. It kind of eliminated the other parts that were in the manga.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where the cards actually came into being somewhere along the line, but I would suspect that when the manga was a hit, that they published the cards, the first batch of cards.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
And then as the manga continued, as the anime was created, they continued making new cards for the benefit of the fans who read the manga or watched the show.
Well, what I was going to say, though, like, in terms of you think it'd be cool to rip off, in terms of this specific, like, writing something that involved, like, some sort of universal game or something.
Yeah.
Clearly, they worked backwards with this, like in that they came up with the game first, and then the story around it. Even though the story around it was originally a thing first with the manga, I think it'd be cool if you wrote the game as a completely natural thing into the story, and then later on make it into an actual game or something like that. Work
so
with
you're
the story.
saying work it forward as opposed to the way they did.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Like that, I think it'd be a cool way.
I think it would be.
Yeah,
I think it would be. Another thing that I'm doing more on the reading side, I actually read through Donald's first published edition of Megazoic.
Whoa! First for the Ritwit! What you're going to rip off from this month is something published from one of the hosts of this show. I feel so official. I feel like a real writer.
And you make me feel like crap because there's no way you would do the same for my works because they're not published. Thanks. Anyway.
Hey, that's just to say I wouldn't. I can't. So,
as it relates to inspiration.
Yes.
And this is common listeners may know that I really like fan fiction, and as Kristalina the Calamitous mentioned, I really like writing about Power Rangers.
Well, yes.
But envision how you would do a scene in that story, whatever story it is. It might be Megazoic, it might be an unpublished work, it might be some other author. If you wrote it, even without changing much else, keep the characters, keep the plot events,
right.
But how would you write this scene? Not to pick on my co-host, but there are times when I look at the finished product that he published and say, I can make this scene flow better, or make it more realistic, or keep track of whether my characters are saurian or actually human.
Hey, to be fair, I never forget that they're saurian. I forget that saurians can't move and pose like humans. I don't know, and that's fine. To be fair, I've also looked through it and also the second one, and I also I could have written that one better. So that
well, and of course, this doesn't account for we naturally make progress. The
right,
more
of course.
Experience we get, the more we do, the better we are, and so having finished the third, and we've announced that he's finished the third book in the series. Of course, he looks back at the first one. Maybe I should have done this different. Maybe I could have done better. But I'm simply saying it's a natural part of the process. You keep writing, you will get better, and so the old stuff kind of begins to pale a little bit by comparison.
Well, I feel like even decades down the line, I feel like I always look at Megazoic fondly, if nothing else, just because it's my first published work. So.
Well, and I'm not saying it means nothing. I'm not.
Of course not. No, and I know you're not saying it's bad. You really
tweaks.
You've always told me you really liked the story and all the characters and such. So you're doing constructive criticism with it. So that's totally fine.
For more on constructive criticism, please listen to episode 6. Was it 3 or 6? 6 of the Ritwit.
You always think it's 3. It's always 6. Just multiply times 2 and you got it. Except for then it's 12 if you actually think it's 6.
Yeah, exactly. If I actually remember 6.
Well, it sounds like that that's the defense of, let's see you write this better than, won't work on you. Or Megazoic,
I don't mean to say that. I couldn't write the full story the way you did.
Well, thank you.
But there are scenes in which, I just think that there are ways around it. Now, of course, obviously taking into account my own limitations as a writer.
Right,
and
of course.
Not the author of the original story, but how would I do this? Could I make it better? It's basically the beginning of fan fiction. There was something I read recently that was really intriguing about fan fiction and how, you're not really an official writer until somebody wants to create more based on your work.
Oh, I guess I'm not an official writer yet then. Nah, that's not fair. You've actually written a few fanfics of my work.
That's true! Not this version.
Not even the version before it. It was the version before that. Okay.
Wait, no, it was the one with Carly, remember?
Yeah, I know, but... Okay.
That was the version before this.
None of this makes any sense.
You're right. We haven't explained it. Anyway, what are you planning to rip off from, Donald?
Of course. Okay. So, I saw this on Netflix. I remember liking this movie a lot. I watched Van Helsing on Netflix. I rewatched it. So, this movie is campy and cheesy, but I love it. I really love it. It's by the same guy who directed the first 2 Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser and such, so...
Basically right up that alley, then.
Well, yeah, exactly. I guess it makes sense, then, that the new Mummy movie with Tom Cruise was building up to a Van Helsing-like thing, because he did this himself. Maybe if this had gone on, they would have combined, too. So this movie's campy and cheesy, and I love it. I think the campiness is intentional, to make it look an homage to the old-timey horror flicks. I mean, at least some of the campiness. Some of it's genuine. Well,
I was about to say, if there's a scene where they go black and white on purpose, then they're doing homage.
They do. There's a prologue of the movie that is black and white. The prologue of the movie is black and white, so yes, they do that. So, But, like, yeah, they do stuff like that. It's pretty cheesy, but they also do a lot of fun stuff. And there's some stuff where they do a lot of, like, genuine kind of research, like, in things that you wouldn't expect. The movie takes place in some part in the 1880s. I'm not entirely sure when. I don't want to specify dates because I don't want to seem like I didn't do the research, even though I'm saying that I didn't. But there's openings in Paris, and you can see that the Eiffel Tower is still being constructed. I'm like, that's a nice little detail. It's half built.
Absolutely.
So, I guess it'll be 1886. Dang it, if I'm wrong, don't crucify me. So,
it's a little too late for the crucifixion, but, it's only the 1800s, no big deal.
Oh, phew. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of crosses in this movie. But anyways.
Well, I suppose if you have anything bringing Dracula into the story, right? Van Helsing was a vampire hunter, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, he is, and he has to fight Dracula, and he often dips his automatic crossbow, which is freaking awesome, in holy water.
All right, so here's the one question: do you know Van Helsing's proper name?
Gabriel.
I thought it was Abraham, actually.
Well, okay, in this movie, he's like a reincarnation of the angel Gabriel, and Dracula is like a reincarnation of not Lucifer, but another one, another demon. And it's like
Nosferatu, maybe
something like that. But yeah, Abraham Van Helsing. Van Helsing is actually Van is either his middle name or it's like the of part of a name like that. So.
I think that in that part of Europe, it's quite common that they have like a compound name. And it basically translates to of, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they might have become Abraham Van Helsing, but everyone just calls him Van Helsing. So, I think they mentioned it once or twice that it's his actual name. But anyways, there's a lot of cool ways that cross over the Gothic works. Like, the opening in Paris has him fighting Mr. Hyde, who is basically like Victorian Hulk here in this version. So, like, they made him... Because, like, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it's basically like Dr. Banner and the Hulk. So, and complete with Mr. Hyde being a lot bigger, which is not true to the books, but
No, not at all. Well, and to be fair, like, Jekyll and Hyde was a humongous influence on the Incredible Hulk when it first came out, too. So.
I didn't know that. That makes sense. There we go. But, like, also, Mr. Hyde was actually smaller than Dr. Jekyll, which the only adaptation to get that correct is Pagemaster, ironically enough, the cartoon.
Well, it's a cartoon. It's easier to do.
So there's also, like, Frankenstein's monster who has the gift of life inside of him that the Dracula wants to use to keep his children alive. There's, like, thousands of these bat creatures that are, like, in Zerg-like cocoons.
Wow, we love referencing StarCraft, which I suppose makes sense, but still.
I mean, it's just, you look at these things like, what else would you call them? I don't know. They could be bees, but they're kind of too gooey. I guess bees like honey, but it's not that kind of gooey, okay?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, but like, so there's also a lot of werewolves in it, and the climax involves Van Helsing having been bit by a werewolf that was once the love interest's brother, and he uses his werewolf powers to beat up Dracula while he's in bat form. It becomes Giant Wolfman versus a giant bat. So, it's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Also, the only thing that can kill Dracula, like stakes and all that stuff, it only just slows him down, this one, because he's gotten so powerful. Turns out the only thing that can really kill him is a werewolf, but they kind of do it kind of a fun way, that, based on this formula that he has in him, there's a formula that makes him not no longer a werewolf, but if you are a werewolf for your first full moon, when the clock strikes 12, sort of like Cinderella, I guess, but after 12 strikes, you're permanently a werewolf. So, basically, it adds this huge timer to their final fight, where he has to become a werewolf as the clock strikes 12, and then
beat Dracula before the
12th one hits, and then have enough time for them to jam that formula in him afterwards. It's great.
Wow.
So...
high stakes, I suppose.
Haha, stakes, vampire.
Ba-doom.
Indeed. But anyway, so what I want to rip off with, though, specifically, is like how you can cross over... I think it's cool how they crossed over various ideas and concepts in ways that don't seem forced. I mean, I know these were all kind of in their own little Universal universe at one point back in the 50s.
Well,
like Universal Studios universe, but yes.
Yes, not counting the dark universe that failed miserably.
Had one movie, and then boom, there it goes.
Out of the gate.
Yep, indeed. But anyways, like, so in Mary Shelley's original Frankenstein novel, she never went into detail about how the monster was brought to life. Like, the lighting part was an invention of the movies. Sure. That, of course, young Frankenstein built off on. So, yep. But, so, in the book, it's just this mysterious gift of life, like a particle or some sort that he doesn't explain, which I think is kind of a fun way to be like, yeah, I don't know how the science behind it is, so I'm just not going to say it. It has no way
you have to do all the research. It was, at the time, groundbreaking, and so who was actually going to call her on it?
And she did a lot of research for the stuff that was proven to be true. as for the parts that would be impossible, like bringing dead tissue back to life, she was like, I just did it. I don't know how. Like, that's what Dr. Frankenstein did. So it makes sense that Dracula would want this to keep his children alive. So he captures Frankenstein, like, gets the gift of life from him by, like, zapping that and then putting it into his children. So
he captures the monster. That is one thing that's always bugged me about the story.
Oh, for God's sake! The real monster is the one who always says, "Oh, actually, it's Frankenstein's monster." That's the real monster.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The doctor's name was Frankenstein.
I know.
And he created a monster.
I'm an English major. I only had to read Frankenstein for 3 separate classes.
Did you really?
Yes.
I've never actually read Mary Shelley's original novel.
Then shut the hell up! No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay.
Are you sure you're not going to blow a blood vessel over there, Mr. Talking about giant bat Dracula?
My name's not Matthew Dollymore. It's Mr. I can't come up with a pun. Let's move on! Hulk angry. There we go. I'm just going ahead.
Sure, that reference.
Hulk angry.
Anyway.
What's we at the Rich Wit have Rick? You go.
All right, sure. So I actually did hand off. I mentioned this add-on story I'm doing with one of my previous roommates. Finally finished my portion and handed it off back to him. I am also doing the final bit of translation work. We had a humongous undertaking hosting some American high school kids from our sister city here in Japan, and we got a news article that was written in their newspaper, and my supervisor thought it would be a good idea to translate it so that people here could, see what they were talking about. The article itself is actually not great. There are a ton of typos, and I just keep laughing because I'm like, this person is a professional newspaper copyist. Like, seriously, guys.
Well,
okay,
cool.
It's
I don't feel so bad then that you also look at my work and be like, how can I do this better? Because clearly this other person who's probably more professional than I am also had a lot of screw ups. So
yeah, no, it was really bad. But that's
nice.
Because of the territory. Translation, as I've mentioned before, is kind of a bear because it works best in the language it's composed in, of course. That makes sense. Which means there are some things that translate simply, there are some things that translate not nearly so simply.
Right, of course.
But, it's not really creative in the same sense that I like having creative writing. But as I've noticed, I'm slowly getting better at time management. Keep in mind, people, that progress is never truly linear. And I'm expecting to add writing onto the plate as long as I can balance out my schedule appropriately. If that's not a half-baked way of committing to writing, I don't know what is.
You know what? I'll take it. It's about as professional as anything else on this podcast. So.
All right, fair enough.
So professional indeed, right? Boom, I stole your catchphrase. It's mine.
Exactly. Well, okay, you can't steal my catchphrase just by using it once, but sure.
Watch me! Anyways, okay. I'm sorry, I'm oddly aggressive this episode. Hold on, I need to take some anti-stress pills here. Some chill pills, if you will. Yeah. Anyways. So,
you just went there.
I'm good. Right.
Well, I mean, you were the one who was worried about bowels earlier, right? So,
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Okay.
Maybe take some antacids with those chill pills. What have you written?
Here.
What have you written?
Have some.
Donald.
Have some. Thank you. Doesn't that feel nice? Anyways. I've written, I'm working more. As you said, we finished the third one. It's still being edited, but that's almost going to be done shortly. That's going to be done shortly here. My illustrator just sent me the first picture. She's got 24 more to go. Good luck. This
is why it's not getting out until October. Everything else is good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not
to pick on your artist who made.
Oh no, she's great. I love her, but she can be a little slow. That's okay. She's been really busy herself too. As you should know. Well, not you should know, but you should empathize.
I should figure. Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm working on the fourth and, as I've said before, final Megazoic. Not really much else beyond that I can't really get into without spoilers. So it's all redundant, bro. Bro, man.
Bro, man. I'm not sure what you view me as after that day at the theme park, though.
You're totally a brother, dude, bro, man, guy. All right. Anyways, as well as that, brother.
Yes.
Was it like they say in Zoolander? I mean, brother. I don't mean it, brother, like literal brother, but like the way black people use it.
Wow, how's that for an obscure reference? All right.
Oh, Zoolander's popular. It's still a very.
I've seen Zoolander once.
It's just Merman, Dad. Merman. I think I have to.
All right.
Anyways, I'm watching. I'm working on. I want to work. I haven't worked on this yet, but I'm trying to do this to guilt trip myself later after listening to this. Like, oh yeah. So back in the day, I don't think I ever mentioned this on the show, but I used to make games. I mean, not really advanced ones. It was more just for fun. It wasn't really like a job or anything. It was just a fun little hobby that I like to do with this programming software. And I kind of want to get back into that.
I remember you had a really good one that I actually really enjoyed your game based on the little robot hoverhead. That was a fun game.
Oh yeah, I like that one. I forgot. Yeah, it's like a puzzle game too. It's like all these levels and you had to accomplish the puzzle in some way. Some of them there were multiple paths and all that stuff. I always wanted to make a sequel to that, but it never came anywhere. So,
well, if you were going to do a sequel, you needed to throw in his ability to apparently change like kinds of robot on the drop of a hat.
Well, I was going to add all the different other robots that are his friends.
Yes. No, you did.
And they'd all do different things.
Mode?
Yeah, I was going to.
We should stop. We should stop talking about this unless we're going to explain more.
No, it's like the new Wild for Tomorrow. Like it's one of those things we'll just never explain.
We'll just keep referencing it and they'll never understand.
Anyways, so I wanted to work on this one. I thought about it for a while. It's Dino Theme Park. It's basically a theme park. It's like a tycoon game where you build a theme park and it has dinosaurs. But like, and there's been a lot of these like that happening lately. Especially lately. There's like, of course, Jurassic World Evolution, which was mentioned last month, and then there's some other stuff going on. There's one called just Dinosaur Park on Steam. It looks pretty cool though. I'm having fun with that. But like this one, it'd be more because I've experienced with this kind of thing. It would be more focused on the theme park part of it, and then the dinosaurs. While there would be a bunch of them, it would just be kind of little attractions. Like
so
it would
basically, bridging the gap between a dinosaur expansion pack to Zoo Tycoon and actually having a theme park. Got it.
Well, it's more like an expansion pack in Roller Coaster Tycoon where you just happen to be able to put living dinosaurs into it. So
no, it's still more like ZT. Anyway,
well, I mean, the point is though, ZT and these other ones, they focus more on taking care of the animals. This would be more for taking care of the theme park. The dinosaurs are what you use to kind of get guests in and make money. But there's rides and there's roller coasters. There's all the other stuff. So it'd be kind of like my Botanical Park Tycoon games that I made, which I think I mentioned once or twice on here, but I don't know if I mentioned I made them.
You probably have.
But so that'd be fun. Of course I would put a lot of Megazoic Easter eggs in there because of course I would. Like I think that might be maybe a joke or something where like if you put all the Psi Squad members into one exhibit, they all get named after their characters. Like
that would be a fun glitch, yeah. No, not a glitch, a program.
Easter egg. Yeah, an Easter egg, a programmed in Easter egg. Yeah, I think it'd be kind of funny. But yeah, no, we'll see how it goes. So
not to pick on you, but I think it'd almost be smarter for you to try and build your much vaunted ton of detail work put in MOBA that you keep touting.
That's way too impossible. Plus, MOBAs work best with the online community, which that's never going to happen for me. And plus, I don't know how to do multiplayer. I just like playing that because I think it's fun.
Which means I ask again: what is the purpose of spending all this time thinking of how balancing issues
It's fun.
work? And
I don't think of how balanced it is. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't say how much damage the abilities do or what the cooldowns are because that's way too complicated. I just like to say what the abilities are. Anyways.
I don't know if it's too complicated. It's just something that you don't have much reason to do, so that makes sense. Anyway,
anyways,
guilt tripping you into making games again another time. Shall we move on to our actual topic?
Well, yeah, I guess I shouldn't, but like, I don't know, it's just like, this really, I don't know, like, procrastination is my real self-made villain, isn't it? My biggest villain is procrastination. That was me trying to do a segue.
Your biggest enemy is procrastination. Speaking of enemies...
There we go. See, you do it in 2 seconds, man. Anyway, segue into our topic continues. Okay, so long-time listeners might know that we've done a villain episode before. It was episode 9, Types of Antagonists.
So, one thing that we have to rectify, going back over the episode, we talked about all these different kinds of villains, and we had a decent amount of fun with that episode, as I recall. But we neglected to mention one of my favorite archetypal villains, and I feel really dumb about this because I really enjoy these characters so much. Okay, not to say I like the character. Sometimes I definitely hate them, but they're really enjoyable, and that is the manipulator.
Right.
People love to hate them just pulling the strings and forcing the protagonist into awful situations, but when you think about it, that requires some real intelligence, and they have strong character traits that kind of write themselves.
No, I get that.
If you're trying to put people in position on your chessboard of life, then they're going to act a certain way. Then they're going to treat people as a certain way, not necessarily in line with how others would. And so, in that way, it writes itself.
I like that too, but I just don't know if that's not necessarily just a villain thing. They don't have to be evil to do that. It's you ever seen V for Vendetta? That carries clearly a chess.
I haven't seen V for Vendetta, but the point that I want to make is if you're manipulating people regularly for your own personal gain, I don't really think that you're much of a great person. Now, it doesn't mean you can't.
This guy for V for Vendetta, he manipulates people, which it's a tyrannical government, and he does it for the good of the people. Basically, he wants to take down this tyrannical government. I won't go into too much of it. Basically, he wants to take down this tyrannical government, and he knows he's just one man in a mask.
But sure.
But he's one man in a mask, and he wants to take down this tyrannical government, and he motivates the citizens, and he first starts off offing the government officials by first getting them to kill each other. And then he only makes his move after slowly manipulating everyone. Well, not manipulating, I guess, but getting people to see, yes, you can rise. It's basically the message, the people shouldn't be afraid of the government should be afraid of the people thing. So, anyways.
Fair.
I do like the manipulators myself, though. Yeah, there may not be, expressly just limited to villains, but when they are put on villains, I think they're really cool. And they can be done really well, really scary.
They're really good villains because if you're talking about a person that can think enough moves ahead of the protagonist to get them right into their plan, that is such an intriguing villain. A good villain. Not that I'm good character, but a good... Well, okay,
right.
Sorry. Let me rephrase this. Good character, evil intentions.
Right.
Leaving it there.
You know what's a good... Maybe not villainous, but, he's not... He does it because he's kind of being silly, but, it's not really a villain version. And How I Met Your Mother, Barney Stinson is a real manipulator in terms of getting women to sleep with him. He's got a whole playbook, and it's all this stuff that's, really
What if
funny.
I told you I was going to die tomorrow? What would you do then,
Well, one of them was it was just he's not coming, where you get on top of the Empire State Building, find all the lonely girls up there, and then you just say, he's not coming. And then eventually one of them's he's not? But we agreed. This was always the place. This was always the night. Oh, I'm such a fool. Then he hugs her, and he's there, and then he winks at the camera. It's great. There's so many of those.
It's kind of like Wedding Crashers when they talk about that's the easiest way to get with a woman because they're celebrating, and so they're more likely to just go all out. And then Will Ferrell's character comes in and say, "Nah, funerals, man, that's where it's at. Everybody's grieving."
Oh, God. Comedies don't generally tend to have completely irredeemable monsters, but that movie has that one. Will Ferrell, man, he's a monster. He's a really funny one.
That is... Can he be a complete monster and be so enjoyable to watch? Nah,
come on.
Anyway.
If that guy was a real person, you would hate him because, it's... you're just manipulating people when they're at their lowest low.
Well, I don't know about lowest low, but certainly not a high one. But anyways, how about writing different villain roles better? That's why they're having their revenge on us, why they're coming back.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, so the
mentioned. Yeah, the first episode we did types of villains. Now we're talking about kind of how more to write them.
Yeah. So
we talk about various ways to why they could be evil or how we can make them evil or what's a way, for instance, to make the reader root against them. So
the horrible deeds.
Ooh, so horrible.
Sorry. Well, they usually happen on screen, on page. So anyway, here are some suggestions for good horrible deeds, and this is not a completely inclusive list. I'm sure that listeners can come up with other ideas. We haven't, but here we go. Committing some horrible misdeed to their own flesh and blood.
Yes. Oh yeah, killing the father or or any sort of family member in general.
Any family member. If they do it to their own family, then that's really hard to redeem them from, you know?
Brother, long live the king. Mufasa! Sorry.
All the toilets in the kingdom shall henceforth be known as John's.
I mean, to be fair, that was
really
the
a
hero
horrible misdeed,
doing it
but-
to the villain.
I know. I just felt like
that's not really
referencing that.
killing. That's more just killing his reputation.
Well, as I said, it's a horrible misdeed. I didn't say it had to be death.
Well, he did
Anyway.
take him to the Tower of London to make him part of the tour. So.
Exactly. Anyway, or you maybe, and this is one that's a little off the wall, and I thought about this in the preparation for this episode, but what if, you know, somebody happens to be at the opposite end of a feud from the focal character, and there was an act that was just misinterpreted. And so they're like, oh, this guy's absolutely a nutcase, he's horrible, but if you actually, you know, heard his
But he's
side
just
of the story,
misunderstood.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just...
Now, admittedly, this one's not too horrible, and it's probably something you'd use more in comedy, but it's something to consider.
And when fangirls trying to make sure the hot villain actually has a sensitive side. They're not
What
actually
about,
all that bad.
as a potential example, if there was a legitimately justifiable reason for anything Draco Malfoy did, but our focus was always on Harry Potter and his friends, and so to us it seemed like surely it could not be good intentions. Surely he didn't have a good reason. He just did it to spite us. You know, so the audience tends to side with the characters that are focused on as opposed to, in this case, the example Malfoy.
I've said this before on the show, but I really love what they did with Malfoy to explain why he's the way he is. And I later read that one of the things that J.K. Rowling said of the events that happened after the series ended, this I thought was kind of interesting. Harry and Draco, they never became friends, but they definitely grew to understand one another.
Yeah,
I thought that was a nice way for them to part as characters.
Absolutely. Well, here's another one.
Yes.
Anything
keep going. I'll just sit back
negative
and relax.
involving children.
I don't know, some of those brats deserve it. I'm sorry, that was too far.
I'm not saying that there aren't characters who have done bad things that don't deserve some punishment, but, like, when I say anything negative, I'm suggesting, like, you know, kidnapping children is not really a redeemable action.
Master Skywalker,
Worse
there are
than
too
that.
many of them. What are we going to do? Extend lightsaber, and then scenes later we see some dead kids. That was poor little Jedi. Remember that in Revenge of the Sith?
I have not seen Revenge of the Sith in so long, but yes, obviously when he committed Order 66 and killed all the tiny children at the Jedi
Anakin had to. Yeah, Anakin they had to kill all the Jedi, and that included all the little ones being trained as the Jedi, and that was what Anakin went to the temple to do. And it's like, oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling to see somebody who, you know, hopefully you kind of respected, even though, of course, we knew the eventual end point for him, but you hopefully kind of respected him after the the Clone Wars, but then he goes in and he slaughters these kids, like, oh my god.
Right. Kind of
down the path. Anything involving an unwilling participant.
Like,
more severe in nature.
Without consent.
Not just taking a kid along to buy groceries at the store, not, like, forcing a child to eat their vegetables.
We're talking, like, rape or, like...
Yep,
when a character rapes someone, they're generally a bad guy. Okay, I'm lessening it for comedic effect. Anyone who rapes someone is a terrible person. So...
Yeah, no, we can't condone it. In that same way, abuse is kind of really not a good choice either. But these are deeds that, you know, the reader will start despising this character, which is why we're talking about them. So, forcing cooperation by eliminating all other options. Going back to that manipulator thing we talked about, like, literally, this guy is so far ahead. I say guy. Doesn't have to be, of course.
I mean, it could be anyone.
It could be.
This
character going so far ahead to literally eliminate any other choice to make sure that the protagonist, usually, is following the path that they have selected. That's pretty ruthless. I mean, if there's a moment in which you are forced to choose, and it happens to be against the people you've cultivated close friendships with, it's really hard to come back from that.
Well, like, this is why I think it's silly. Again, this is whole to, like, oh, but he's so good-looking, apparently, to fangirls. But, like, look, Kylo Ren is, after he killed Han Solo, he's beyond redemption, honestly.
Gosh, those stupidly high-waisted pants.
Yeah, I mean, that was also, that just further cemented that he was beyond redemption.
You didn't get my reference. Anyway.
No, I know. What was that one? I remember the reference. But anyway, so he went to the dark side. He was on the First Order.
Yeah, right.
And then Han Solo was there. They can intentionally draw out the scene just in case we're idiots and we don't think Han's going to die. I knew he was going to die the second they recast Harrison Ford, but
because he was done.
Yeah. So, so he's like, "Come on, come back to us, man. Come back to your old man." Right? No, that's exactly how he words it. But
exactly.
Then he's like, he looks like he's gonna hug him, and he just stabs him with a lightsaber, and then he throws him down into the pit, and then the plant that the pit is on explodes. So Han Solo's not just dead; he is dead. They wrote him out to make sure Harrison Ford could be like, "Please, no more."
I'm done.
Like, I want me to be dead.
You know, this is a good example of something else that we're not talking about much in this episode, but like, you know, how behind the scenes things can affect the story.
Right.
With books, and you have full control, and you don't have to deal with actors who have egos and other desires separate from your own, then it doesn't necessarily impact. Anyway, speaking of just a couple blanket statements about these particular deeds, some suggestions that writers should keep in mind. And there are other deeds, of course, as we said. If there's no worth to mentioning the act in story, nothing says it needs to be in there.
Right. Like, if you need to say, like, by the way, this guy's really evil, and he kills babies. I'm like, well, we knew he was evil before. I mean, killing the babies just really cements it, but did you really need to say that?
Well, I'm thinking, like, if there's something in the past that, you know, has turned him into this character, but it doesn't actually happen in the main plot, it's good supplementary material for you, the creator. But not so much for the audience, although those fanatics who love doorstop encyclopedic texts, you know, maybe they'll enjoy
Back in the day, Kylo Ren bought a bunch of high-waisted pants on sale at the local version of Kmart that they have in Star Wars.
Great, because it's out of business too, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Must have been before it went out of business.
Yeah, exactly. One other thing that I pretend I like a lot is when you have some event in the story that showcases this character without really expositing anything, without explaining such. That's some good synergy.
I definitely
so
do
if
this
there's a reason
myself.
to put it in your story, this horrible deed, and it reinforces what you're telling the audience about the character, that's a really good idea. I
think so. I've definitely done that a lot myself in my own writing, so.
Who have you done it with, just to ask the question?
I did that a bit with Dranax, and spoilers for first book of Megazoic, bought on Amazon.com. He more like talks about a few things. Like his character is a teenager, so
True.
he kind of more talks about things, but doesn't actually have the gall to do it. But once spoiler alert, once the Cortex takes him over after he's seemingly killed, that's when he starts doing all the real atrocities. Like, okay, there's no more inhibition anymore. I'm going to kill my father, become the king, and go into Laurasia with all guns blazing. If you haven't read Megazoic yet, sorry.
And speaking of, horrible misdeed to their own flesh and blood,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, except for at this point...
he had to die first, so I suppose it's not quite the same.
Yeah, exactly. But, he did it more to... The killing his father was also like... I mean, to be fair, to the father's point of view, he didn't know that wasn't him. I mean, he knew that Dranax died, but he was like, how are you still alive? What's happened to you? And then before anything too much further could happen, boom, dead. So I guess it's still kind of evil in a way, just because... I mean, at least from his perspective, like, the guy's horrified. Like,
Yep. How did he survive this, and why is he coming at me with his blades drawn, kind of a thing. Yep. Yeah.
But he intentionally goes for a fun fact though, he has his blades drawn, but he intentionally shoots him with a gun because later on he says, "Oh, but yeah, it was Laurasians that killed him," to motivate his to the Terranians into like, yeah, we're going to war against the Laurasians. Because if he used his blades, that would be kind of obvious.
Be obvious that it wasn't. Yeah.
Of course, the Terranians kind of really don't care either way. I kind of make it that like they really want to go to the war with Laurasia too. It's Terrano is kind of keeping them all back, and so they really don't need much of a push.
So other things, another thing that I like, another criterion we are considering is ways to make the reader sympathize or understand the villains. Maybe not agree with their motives, maybe not agree with their actions, but the tragic motivations for insanity.
This isn't probably a spoiler, because I'm not going to go into details, but in Avengers Infinity War, they go into a lot of why the villain Thanos thinks the way he does. I didn't agree with it, of what he was saying, of course, but
you could understand why he went down the path.
Yes, exactly. I can see why he went down the path, and also I can see that he understood it. So
yes, these tragic motivations for insanity, as I called them. Some suggestions. Have you ever heard the old axiom, the road to hell is paved with good intentions?
Right, exactly. No. I've heard that all the time. It's my life. No.
Well, I mean, you're forced by a world to reconsider your previous opinions. Sometimes you have, like, it does tend to happen as you get older, you become more cynical. The world is no longer your oyster, and you just see things that disappoint you, and so you're forced to reevaluate what you believe about the world around you and what's possible. And to an extreme version, it just perhaps happens more with villain characters.
Of course. Like, a good example of this, I think, is, like, Killmonger and Black Panther, because his reason for doing the evil things he wants to do, which is basically use Wakanda's technology to dominate the world and kill, basically become a black supremacist by killing all the white people.
Fix the world, yeah.
But his reasons why, he's right. Like,
they've been oppressed their entire existence.
Like, there's so many people who've been oppressed just because of the color of our skin. Now, you are a nation full of black people, and there are 2 billion people out there who look just like you, and you have all this advanced technology. Why aren't you helping them?
And you're not helping them. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and you're like, he's not wrong.
You're not. He's not wrong.
You just shouldn't try and kill everyone with it.
Of course, I don't remember if we talked about this when we fangasmed over that movie, but...
I don't think we did either, so...
But I'm just thinking, like, Killmonger is one of the most relatable villains to that point in the MCU.
I mean, obviously, none of us are black, but I know, unfortunately, what our people, the white people, have done to the horrific things they've done.
I don't mean to say that we see ourselves in him so much as he's relatable.
Right, but I can see why he'd think that way. Like, I can see why he'd be that way. And
anyway, some tragedy forces them to snap. They can't handle the world without this person or after this event happened, and they're irrevocably changed. How about digging your own hole unwittingly and failing to see any alternative ways out?
Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
There's severe loss on a repeated scale that changes the character's emotional or psychological stability. It's one thing to lose your father. If you happened to lose your mother merely a month later, you're in a rough place. If you lose your brother the day after your mom died, you'd be in a really bad place, And so, like...
My dog Pongo, my goldfish Goldie, my cat! It's good to be home, isn't it, Master Robin?
We must need a Mel Brooks sponsored episode because we keep referencing him today. Anyways,
he's not died yet, thankfully. So we're not doing this just out of tribute.
Not yet.
He's so old, though.
He is.
Man, but
already 80 something, 85 plus, I think, 90 plus.
He's 94. He's about as old as Stan Lee.
Oh, the world will be a tragic place when we lose them. The olive branch offered at the wrong. For this wrong path at just the right time.
Right, of course. So like it's again the manipulators in a way. Well, it's more like a villain manipulating another villain.
It's kind of being taking advantage of somebody, but I don't know if that's as much manipulation. Well, unless you were the one who caused them to be in this situation. Like the example that I thought of when I came up with this more blanket description for it was like some cripple who just recently lost his legs, and here, we'll give you a way to walk again. You just need to do some favors for us.
Well, I was thinking, again, back to Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, is Palpatine's like, oh, you're afraid of losing your wife. Oh, the Jedi won't help you. Oh, the dark side. There's this guy named Plagueis, Darth Plagueis, who can control life and manipulate those and save others from dying. You know how you can do that? Come to the dark side. So, but he always wanted him as an apprentice because he knew how powerful he was.
True.
And how powerful he could be under his rule. So he's like, oh, your wife is pregnant, you're afraid he's going to lose him? I'm pouncing on this.
Yeah.
So
Some
that's what Palpatine did.
other advice about, writing these particular pieces. This is perfect fodder for the villainous monologue, explaining why she or he acts this way.
Right. Like there definitely is something, like, more than just being cool and, like, just giving the heroes time to enact some plan. Monologues do have a lot of character to them.
Exactly.
Like, they talk about, they reveal so much.
And that's the purpose. A word of advice, insane people typically don't believe they are insane.
Right.
So these choices need to be presented as logical, consequential, and consecutive as much as you can.
Right.
The last one. A leads to B, so this character chooses to do C.
Of course.
For example.
Like, I'm not going to spoil this because I'm not going to go into details, but, and this is more like a sneak peek of Megazoic the Hunted Ones. I haven't revealed the name of it, so don't worry.
Yeah, I know.
It's fine. So, soon to be available on Amazon.com.
Or should that be the foghorn?
Oh, that's right! That's right! Pull in the foghorn! Thank you. I'm glad we're bringing that back. Look, I'm basically going to reveal how Zul'Garen ended up the way he did. The villain Zul'Garen. Like, it's not so much all of it, because there's more of it going to be in later on, but you can sort of see piece by piece his gradual descent into insanity and how it all happened.
Well, I was going to save this for after my one other statement, but I have one example I'd like to bring up here if you'll let me.
Of course.
Take a good look at Elphaba, the Gregory Maguire's novel exploring the land of Oz and the Wicked Witch's past.
And the Wicked Witch.
Or the Wicked musical is far more concise, and to be fair, it's what I'm actually, basing this on. So
the book is far darker, but yeah. I don't think
but all of the consistent disappointments of her life, the choices she makes, that leads her to accepting the public's assertion that she must be wicked. Throughout the whole affair, she's reluctant, she wants greatness like any other person. She's not different from them in that respect.
Yeah.
Trying to
she just
earn
happened
it.
to be born green, so people kind of looked at her like, oh, you're a wicked abomination.
Well, her skin is a different color, and of course, she tends to hurt people that she's close to, her favorite professor, her boyfriend, her sister, Take a look at the story if you haven't heard the music, at least, to understand what I'm talking about better. But when all other options have been removed for her, she just gives into this pressure of what others say, that would be enough to make...
Defying Gravity song.
that actually is not the moment I'm referring to.
I don't know the point for the song, so I don't know where that is. I know it's first act ender. I haven't seen the musical, but I've heard all the songs.
Defying Gravity happens after Elphaba and Galinda find out that the wizard is a fake. And she's disappointed by this. And so she says, well, heck, he said everybody deserves a chance to fly, so I'm going to fly. I'm not going to let anybody tell me what I can and can't do anymore, which is the whole point. It's her liberation. But she has not gotten to the point of,
it's her let
giving
it go.
In to the Wicked Witch of the West.
Of course it is, because they're both Idina Menzel.
Yeah, thanks. Good reference. Anyway, the song that she sings later when she decides that she must be wicked because I can't succeed at anything. Everything I try fails. The song title is No Good Deed. And,
that's right.
And the lyric goes, no good deed goes unpunished. So yes. I'm never going to do good again. I mean,
that's right.
Consider all these people have been screaming at her that she's this awful person, she looks different, and she must be this wicked person because everybody who's close to her gets, injured, changed somehow. That would be enough to make any secure person question themselves. To say nothing of feeling negative emotions that would lead you to this choice.
Of course.
With that said, remember that these motivations humanize your villains for the audience.
Right. That doesn't necessarily mean you should agree with them, but definitely just makes them you can empathize with them to an extent.
So this is probably one of the best places to justify why you write the character.
Right, of course.
Like, they exist for the reason of being the villain, but, why are you writing them the way you write them? Why did they become the way they are? Those are very, very close. And so you can explain that for the reader, too.
Of course. Well, it just makes it more interesting. I do love the whole, here's the good villain, here's the good hero, fights, pew, pew, pew. I mean, that's fun, too, to an extent.
It can be. Especially in simpler stories. They don't always have to be complex.
Of course. And complex doesn't necessarily always mean good, and simple doesn't always mean bad, but this kind of just helps kind of give it the extra oomph.
Exactly. How about some ways to make them, charismatic? Not typically just boring, When you focus on the heroes, the villains tend to get short shift. You don't focus on them. Of course,
that seems to happen a lot lately in a lot of movies nowadays. Not just Marvel. Marvel gets the big complaint of it, but actually it's pretty common in a lot of movies that the villain is getting kind of short-shafted a lot lately.
What I like to call this is the further descent to damnation, or maybe redemption.
Right.
So here are some suggestions. We'll talk about further to damnation first, and then we'll talk a little bit separately about redemption. Their speech becomes too haughty or ostentatious.
Yes, of course. They, I don't know, they're like, now I'm the villain. Mwahaha. More better written than that. As you can tell, listeners, David wrote this list. But I was kind of lazy this month, but I did a little.
But to be fair, this is a collaborative podcast, so we have our
and there's some episodes where I do a lot, so it all evens out. So
in visual media, you have this luxury. With print media, you don't so much, but that is if there's a visible cue that madness is setting in. Like, I always envision this guy who is always dressed in these fine suits. And the longer you see him in the movie, the more you see his true motives. His hair just starts to stop being coiffed perfectly. His shirt comes untucked. His suit looks rumpled a little bit. Like, he still has this veneer of respectability, but he's obviously more than he seemed.
Remember in Bionicle Web of Shadows? When Vakama turned evil? Literally, they let us all know in a handy little visual cue of, now his eyes are green.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, his eyes were red originally. He's evil now, green. I mean, to be fair, it's the Hortica within him. It's more kind of representing not just him being evil, but the beast taking over completely.
Exactly.
And so it's more, but it's still basically, I'm good now, red.
Yeah, no, I mean, visual cues are great.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, you don't have luxury when you're just looking at text. Another one is consistently making harder choices without considering the full consequences of your actions. When I say harder choices, I'm starting, the stakes increase. The choices become, more consequential. There are tons of things that you should consider before making this, but you just, rush through that process, skip that process entirely, and act. And usually, the more along the path you get, the more people it hurts, the more it involves other things that you cannot control. And you just don't care.
I'm Thanos. I just want to save the universe by wiping out half of it. I could use this gauntlet to just double the resources, but now I'm just gonna have
the population.
The population. Yeah, and anyone who tries to talk me out of it, you're just a child.
Particularly
I love Infinity War, but I just
particularly topical reference. You did have that beef with the Thanos thing, although thanks for spoilers. Anyway,
hey, I didn't say if he goes through with it or not. Spoiler alert, he does.
All right, so particularly when you're choosing that negative path, when those harder choices, you constantly choose the thing that will do more damage. Wittingly, unwittingly, doesn't matter. You just start playing with higher stakes, and you just don't care how it will affect other people.
Of course.
You're obviously becoming less redeemable the more you do this. Especially if you treat their lives as forfeit for his or her gain.
Of course. Well, there's nothing really quite so evil as taking a life, which is hurts someone else, other people, to the utmost degree, and it's probably the most important thing that will ever happen to them in a negative way, and then they're just like, just one of many.
Yeah.
So...
No, it's awful. And there are, you're not necessarily trying to redeem these characters. You're trying to show them become worse.
Right, of course.
Although, let's talk about the other side now, which is people trying to become better. Obviously, you have the old standby. They hit their lowest point. They hit rock bottom, and they try to honestly turn it around.
But, like, how they came to that conclusion is probably a whole different matter entirely. But,
True.
like...
Well, what is lowest point, right? Express regret for all the carnage in his or her wake. Like, suddenly this veil is lifted. Oh my god, I just killed, like, thousands of people in one go. I'm awful.
Alternatively,
knowing
some villains,
is the
I think this might be
first
interesting.
step, right?
Oh my god, I just killed thousands of people all in one go. I'm awful. There's no turning back now. And they just keep going.
Yeah, and that can happen as well.
I just think that's an interesting way to do it as well.
Yeah,
like,
you're right. You're right. They hit this moment of realization, I'm committed to this, or I'm committing away from it.
Right, exactly. They could do that, or they could be like, man, I like those kind of villains as well. Like the ones who do evil things, they realize they're doing evil things, but at this point, they're trying to accomplish the goal they're trying to do, and they're like, there's no turning back now.
I can't afford to give this up.
Yeah, exactly.
And their motivations are all different, right?
Of course.
One that I particularly like here, especially on the redemptive arc, is when they pay it forward to the young as some totem of redemption.
Okay.
So
what? Well, give me an example. Yeah.
Give you an example. Okay. Well, there are two that come to mind. The first is that while they, take orders, air quotes, orders from their head honcho to kill all the young, they decide to spare the children. In the hope that either these kids will, stop the evil, stop the villain himself, or herself, I suppose, in the future, or, if nothing else, to say, this is my rebellion against what I don't have to be stuck doing this, and I'm going to give that to them to take the ball and run with it. The other one is, taking the death blast for somebody who can go on and, use that as kind of like this touchstone of I tried making a difference, and you are going to be the living embodiment of that.
Right, exactly. No, that's definitely... Sometimes a villain, the only way they can really be redeemed is by killing them. They're like... But in a heroic way. They use their deaths as a way to kind of help stop the story. Stop the conflict.
Yep.
Redemption equals death is the trope.
So, one last suggestion for redemption, and that is, they undermine the big bad from within. Since they obviously know they're too far gone to rejoin the ranks of the heroic properly, they can't undo what they did, and so they simply try to cause as much chaos as possible in the hope that the person who higher than them decides that they are stopped. So, when they're trying to stop the main villain's activity because that's the only way they'll feel right about what they what they have left to do, what their role can be moving forward. And so it works. Those are just some suggestions, not a completely inclusive list, as we mentioned earlier.
Of course.
to be fair, though, the breakdown or the build up in Converse is the most delicate part. But it is perhaps the most fun to craft. Obviously, I prefer redemption stories because I like to search for the good in people, cynical or not.
Of course.
But not all characters can or should be redeemed.
Of course. Well, that's one of the things I talk about with, this sneak peek that's coming out where, I mentioned earlier, and this is a spoiler, I'm not going into details, but I mentioned earlier how we're going to see how Zulgaren kind of got more insane. I make very clear that he was always a little insane and always still pretty evil. This just made him worse. So, without going into detail, that's the thing. So,
yep, if you have a breakdown in the story, it's important to show the audience the depths to which they will fall before their final reckoning.
Right, of course. Well, that's as good for all the main villains. What about their lackeys?
I was going to say my one more statement before you interrupted
Oh,
me.
for God's sakes! Well, wait, no, never mind. You're right. I like having, non-smooth segues, so yeah!
There are plenty of options, of course.
Right.
So throwing it out, that it really is worth trying to keep it in the main plot as opposed to some subplot.
Right, if you can, if it's natural and it's organic.
If
it
you
is
can.
great.
You know, one thing I've seen on a lot of villain casts? You see a lot of faceless people. You see people who show up in maybe a tiny scene, have a purpose, or not, and they're just there. Like, what is the purpose of having these things? I call them superfluous lackeys.
Oh yeah, not just lackeys, but superfluous ones.
I mean, you don't want it to just be a stand-in guy. He breathes in space simply to diversify your cast, but has, like, no interest at all, no reasoning.
Right. It's not... You like to have these lackeys for the villains. They're not just... Oh, this is someone the hero has to fight.
So
they can't just fight the main villain.
I have a couple of fun axioms here before I do the suggestions on these ones. Don't use them without a concrete purpose.
Of course.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge purpose. Maybe he's a delivery man, for example, or a faceless yes man who gets killed because the guy's pissed off anyway.
Right. The evil delivery man, yeah.
And another one, please make sure to bake the cookie dough after you cut it.
Dang it, you're making me hungry. I just had a root canal though too, so that means that I can actually have some of these sweeter foods I couldn't have before, but it stung earlier. So off to get some cookies.
As long as it's repaired, I suppose. But anyway, no. Sorry, I should probably explain this, just in case listeners, you've heard the phrase "cookie cutter character" before.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay. I was like, what? I mean, you're just making me want cookies. But, there's a point. It's not... There's a point to these words. They're not just superfluous, if you will.
They're not just superfluous. You're absolutely right.
Anyways.
I seem to remember
let's get
something...
This done so we can go get some cookies.
to remember something about a mammoth graveyard joke. Anyway...
Cookies! I really want cookies! Do you have cookie? I must have cookie!
Okay.
I really want a cookie.
I mean, they can be superfluous, but not actually be superfluous if you give them some kind of action to do.
You're talking about the people that the villain takes their anger out on, right?
It could be that. Or it could be somebody who's been in the faction, but you never hear their name, and they don't ever play into anything but one scene, but they bring in something that's used later in the scene. Or they transition to the next point of the scene. For example, I was reading Megazoic, and I saw this one chapter's illustration of the guy who literally his only purpose is to bring something into the scientist Olajex.
Oh, the Cretosaurus armory worker, who canonically his name is Farjox, and he's a character in the Megazoic MOBA that we were talking about earlier, because I loved my illustrator's illustration of him.
And whatever your reason, but Farjox, named or unnamed, never really came back. No spoiler alerts there. Anyway, but that strikes me as superfluous. Like, obviously, okay, put it this way. He's not superfluous entirely because he does bring something that furthers the book. But, like, if you just have somebody who's standing there in the office, oh, wow, nice package, doesn't say anything else, gone. Rest of the story.
Right.
What is the point?
This guy was an armory worker who gave another character Olajex. Well, like, this person, like, gives him supplies for his lab and kind of comments a little about the events in the plot that have happened as far as a whole. So he serves a little bit more of a purpose. Right. He's basically just a red shirt, though.
But he's basically, I mean, not literally faceless, but faceless, nameless character in the book. Right. You give him a name.
I mean,
later,
he's nameless. Yes.
You gave him a name later, but like that's a cookie cutter character.
Of course.
You put in a stencil. You put in the stencil in the raw dough, you cut it out, and then it's like, here, throw this into the story. But if you're going to do that, bake it first.
Of course.
Is the whole purpose I made that reference. Anyway, having unnamed but recurring characters serves to show you how big this villain faction may be, but if they aren't in for some other concrete reason, it's kind of silly.
Of course. Absolutely.
So there you have it.
We did it!
A little
so
more
good.
help.
I think we had equally good points about this. We did such a good job. Such a real, true collaboration on this.
Such a
for
professional
letting our
job.
listeners know of just how thoroughly both of us put our all into these episodes. In fact, they are probably so impressed that they want to get our autographs. So how can they get a hold of us to do so? Boom!
I was wondering where you were going with that. I was going to say, though, even if we contributed equally to this episode, that you'll have far more to do with it later because you do all of the editing, so I can't take
I do all the editing. I said do.
Anyways, yeah, if you want to get a hold of us, please download the Ritwit on iTunes.
On iTunes, yes, of course.
Review,
and
all that fun stuff. You can also get the Ritwit on other places like, the website that Matthew Donald maintains.
Yes, there's links to it there, MatthewDonaldCreator.com. And if you want to get an email to us, you can use that email that's there, which is mattd@MatthewDonaldCreator.com.
Please
use your own email.
Please don't walk on us. We have 2 T's.
I think they get it at this point. I do like that joke, though. We always do it. I always do it. It's like, yeah, but...
What do you mean you always do it? You never done it.
I do it all the time at work.
Your own email. Oh, but that's at work, not on the podcast.
Not on the podcast, you're right. But I do it all the time at work. Like, especially when someone's like, oh, is it 1T or 2? I'm like, I'm not a floor mat. You can't walk all over me. It's 2 T's.
But you are also Hall, so I can walk into you.
For God's sake. People walk into me. People do walk on me. People walk... I am a floor mat in everything, every sense of the word, honestly. Like,
oh my gosh. I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. Anyway, your own
totally
email.
Fine.
Directly from your own email. Or you can go to the contact page on the website and you will be able to find that. Also, we've got, Donald's got some professional media stuff.
Yeah.
So,
you can't
Facebook.
steal my thunder on these things. These are my professional Facebook account. If you want,
I'm not trying to. I gave you credit.
We've got professional Facebook. I mean, to be fair, so I do kind of use this for the show as a whole. Like, I'm a professional Facebook account, which is at MatthewDonaldCreator.com. Well, no, just at MatthewDonaldCreator. I mention the podcast a lot, so that's
true.
A lot where we get a lot of our traffic now from lately. So,
also, you've got a couple other options too, right?
Right, yeah, we got my Twitter and my Instagram, which are both at MatthewDonald64, although Instagram is just, it's not the at symbol, it's just MatthewDonald64. Now, why 64?
Yeah,
the number.
I'm curious.
Okay, well, there always is a new reason, isn't there? Well, but here's the true reason. The real, official reason.
The real, official one. We're not lying anymore.
No more lies, because this is really scary. The true villainous fashion, this number 64 threatened to destroy me and consume my soul. Should I not put it in the altar that is my social media usernames? See, unlike 13, 23, 666 or whatever, 64 is the true evil number. Like, it's really the one to look out for. And if I put any other number in the place of that as one of my usernames, 64 will curse me into eternal damnation.
Woo!
I can't have a number...
Stakes!
You like vampires. Van Helsing.
It all comes back together.
It's all a circle, like 64. It's really...
64-bit? I don't know.
Oh, for God. We've made that joke every time. Also,
not every time. We've made it before, but I'm just saying, you said circle, so anyway.
Of course I did. Well, also, I can't have a number not be my username. It's the internet. That'd be ridiculous.
What about your characters? XX Soldier of Vanquishing XX.
Oh, God. 64, please spare me! I have no idea what that sound just was. What was that sound I just did? Like...
Alright, well, that's all for us. That's all from us for now, for this month at the Ritwit. Please visit our amusement park. Thrill Seekers Are Us, where if something ain't running in your pants... We ain't doing our jobs right.
Oh, yeah. And thank you, Miss Crystalina
the Calamitous, for your lovely assistance on the advertisement for that this time. But anyway...
I'm going to go shoot some robo-critics.
Until next month, when we'll talk some more about ridding and something about it. Hey, if you got suggestions, please feel free to email us those comments,
please
concerns.
Do.
Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe. Hopefully not.
Rotten Tomato. Okay.
Tell your friends.
I'll take all the Rotten Tomatoes, please.
Even though we talked about villains and evil curses from numbers today, we try to be family friendly, so this should be okay for just about anyone to listen to, and we'd really welcome them listening. So,
it should be okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean they'll like it. But
anyway, until next time, listeners.
Until next time, I'm Matt Donald,
and I'm Matt David, and that was the Ritwit. We'll see you next month.
Bye.
Keep writing. The Ritwit.